Within the world of Sakamoto Days, there are many powerful assassins with many different kinds of superhuman abilities. Contained within this world of assassins, there's a group referred to as the Order. This is a secret sub-organization of the Japanese branch of assassins that only contain those who are beyond strength itself. The levels of strength within this group are said to be varied, with only two characters being said to be stronger than the rest: Takamura, the manifestation of bloodlust itself, and Yoichi Nagumo, the rival of the greatest assassin in history. Although we've already covered the strength of Takamura, we have not touched upon Nagumo, who's also one of the most powerful characters in the series, so that's what I'll be doing in this video today. I'll be going over Nagumo's character, stats, narrative role, and everything else in order to give you a good estimation to his overall strength in the world of Sakamoto Days. If you enjoy content such as this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, as it'll greatly help me out, and let's get into it. Nagumo is an assassin who's been in the business for over 10 years at the current point of the story, as he and Sakamoto are about 27 years old, and they would first join the Order at the age of 17 to 18 during their school arc. But whereas Sakamoto would retire in order to start a family, Nagumo would stay in the business, never losing that edge and presumably only becoming more powerful as time passed. He's also a jester-like character, always trying to troll the people around him, crack jokes while fighting, and even sports an entire fighting style around deception that we'll get into later. With the brief recap on his character done, let's get into his stats. Nagumo, despite his appearance and how he carries himself, has insane strength. We see through his first battle in the series with Minimalist, he's able to grab him through a mirror and lift him up with one hand with ease, all the while laughing his ass off. And later on in that same fight, he cuts Minimalist's head off in a way that's like using a can opener. We've also seen Nagumo go back and forth with characters like Gaku, who's been shown to bust open human skulls as if they were fruit, and even disembowel people with punches, or even Yotsumura, who's been shown destroying cars and even kicking them towards others. Nagumo isn't on the same level of strength as Gaku when it comes to physical strength, as physical strength combined with martial arts seems to be what Gaku specializes in, but this is something that tends to be ignored when it comes to considering Nagumo's overall strength. Nagumo's speed, unlike his strength, is above most of the cast, even the high tiers. Nagumo has been shown to do things such as react fast enough to prevent Heisuke from being hit by Kamihate's sniper bullet, and engage with some of the fastest characters in the series. Nagumo has been shown to blitz everybody he's fought at least once, and has only been directly hit when completely caught off guard by Takamura himself. Except for that, he's managed to block or evade every single attack sent his way. Nagumo also tends to vary in speed due to his fighting style, so we don't really know his limits, nor do we know how much of it he's utilizing at any given moment, but from what we've seen, he has some of the best. His durability and endurance are also quite impressive, as we've seen Gaku hit Nagumo with enough force to send him flying through walls and a whole car, but Nagumo would still be able to fight and contend with Gaku. Another thing about Sakamoto Days in general is the fact that, like Jujutsu Kaisen, most of the cast can take a pretty bad beating and continue to fight like nothing's happening. So I would say, considering Nagumo's stats and all, his defensive stats are likely good, but everybody's defense in Sakamoto Days is pretty good and above. Now, every character in Sakamoto Days has a special trait or attribute that allows them to have a unique edge over their opponents. When it comes to Nagumo, it's his battle IQ combined with his insane level of deception. Nagumo has been said to be a combatant who does everything with skill and coordination. In every single action Nagumo takes during a fight, there's usually a grand purpose beyond that action alone. Nagumo moves a few steps ahead of most of his opponents, and this allows him to control the battle, as we've seen with both Minimalist and Gaku. I believe this is best shown when Nagumo was fighting Gaku and going through all of his weapons, all the while slowly increasing his speed and effort to lead Gaku into believing that he had been going all out and using everything he had, just to pull out the invisible blade at the end of it all, landing a free fatal blow on Gaku, and allowing him to clean up shop from there on. Nagumo, for this reason, possesses the most potent fighting style in the series, one that relies on surprises and trump cards that his opponents cannot prepare for or expect. And even without it, he already has the stats to contend with any character already. Nagumo's entire kit only reinforces his ability to deceive his opponents. He primarily sports this huge switchblade looking thing that contains multiple different weapons within it, although the switchblade itself can also be used as a weapon. The weapons contained within the switchblade consist of dual blades, daggers, a scythe, an axe, and lastly, an invisible blade. When it comes to the invisible blade, its primary function is to catch the opponent off guard to deal a lethal strike that they cannot predict, but it can still be used as a regular blade even when stained with blood. Nagumo tends to only use one weapon at a time, but he'll cycle through them to keep his opponent on their toes if they're challenging enough. Nagumo displays this kind of behavior when it comes to the usage of his dice as well. He'll use it to decide which weapon he's going to use to defeat a weak opponent, or he'll shoot it at stronger opponents to distract them and give him an opening to attack. Lastly, Nagumo has this strange ability to replicate the appearance of others to a T. He usually uses this ability for stealth purposes and to gain the initiative on his opponents, but it's not really explained how he's able to transform himself like this, but it's along the Sakamoto Days nonsense, like Sakamoto being able to instantly go skinny when he's serious in a fight. Just things of that nature, we don't question it. Judging from Nagumo's stats and equipment alone, it's clear that he sits amongst the strongest in Sakamoto Days, but to get an accurate estimation of where he's placed amongst the strongest, I want to go over some of the narrative and story. Primarily, Nagumo's 3 fights in said story, and the statements that came alongside them. First, we have Nagumo's fight against Minimalist, a serial killer searching for Sakamoto in order to claim a bounty placed on him. Minimalist would pull up to the Sakamoto store with the intention of searching for him, only to find Sakamoto's wife there. He'd end up attacking her, only for Nagumo to come out of the disguise and break his arm easily. From there on, Nagumo toys with him, rolls the dice to figure out how he's gonna kill him, and gets rid of him. Minimalist doesn't really do much when it comes to showcasing Nagumo's strength, honestly, but I think he does a great job at displaying Nagumo's fighting style. We see Nagumo use tons of tricks and deception in order to control the entire arena, keeping Minimalist at the palm of his hand and discarding him when he's finally bored. Next, we have Nagumo's battle against Yotsumura, the ex number 2 of the Order in chapter 78. This one is quite short, and Nagumo also has the help of Shishiba and Osaragi, so it's not that important, and I don't even count it as one of the 3 fights, but it's still here. We do get to see Nagumo throw hands with Yotsumura solo at some point, and he does a good job in holding his own until Osaragi arrives. After this, we see Nagumo go up against Gaku, this easily being his best showcase yet. When fighting against Gaku, Nagumo and Gaku initiate their battle with a clash, resulting in Gaku shooting a beam as a feint and dashing behind Nagumo to slam him through a few walls, to which Nagumo is able to react to, and not only this, respond by throwing a blade the moment he got his footing, hurting Gaku in the process. The two have a back and forth with Gaku pointing out that his strength is above Nagumo's, but their speeds are neck and neck. However, Nagumo ramps up soon after this is pointed out, catching Gaku off guard, and to further overwhelm him, he throws a dice beside his face to throw off his attention and launches into full speed right after to blitz him, a clear display of how Nagumo fights, like a serpent, playing along and striking the moment his opponent feels comfortable and can't see the attack coming. The two continue their fight, allowing Gaku to display his martial arts and overwhelming power, and Nagumo's ability to utilize his weaponry, environment, and deception, all in a way that makes you think his battles are completely scripted with a climax and all. As Gaku slams his mace onto Nagumo one last time, he believes he's going to shatter Nagumo's weapon and finish the battle, but this is when Nagumo pulls out the invisible blade, piercing Gaku's chest and putting him into critical condition. Again, what makes this blade so powerful is the fact that the opponents don't even know it's a factor in their battle until it's used. It's really overpowered against those who are not aware of it. Anyway, after Gaku receives this wound, he shows his insane endurance by not only continuing to fight, but going into some sort of X-Factor state where his stats are even higher than usual due to quote-unquote being placed in a speed run. The battle reaches its climax with the two fighters landing heavy blows on one another, and it's off-screen from there. We see that later in the chapter, Nagumo's body was left in the hallway and impaled using all of his own weapons, ending his story there. Nah, just kidding, this is Nagumo we're talking about. He disguised Gaku's body as his own and disguised himself as Gaku so he can sneak up to the main antagonist Uzuki and pierce his heart with the invisible blade as well. Nagumo had literally killed Gaku there and then. Fun fact, some readers were able to tell that Nagumo had never died in the first place because piercing people is not Gaku's killing style in the story. Every time Gaku kills, it's some kind of blunt force and it's messy, a great display of how much attention to detail that Suzuki puts into this story. Anyway, to come back to Nagumo, it was also while Nagumo was disguised as Gaku, Uzuki would say to him that defeating Nagumo is impressive, as he's one of the Order's top 2 fighters, which already puts him in the top 5 overall. Now, Nagumo's next fights wouldn't really be fights, as against Takamura he didn't do much but get distracted and then put down by Takamura. Now, we do know that getting distracted is actually a thing in Sakamoto Days, as for example, Kindaka only got hit by Nagumo, Sakamoto, and Rion in the flashback arc, whenever he was distracted by something or caught off guard. Whenever he paid them any attention, this would happen. So you can assume Nagumo would do a bit better than normal if he wasn't shocked and distracted by the Rion reveal, but he's not beating Takamura regardless. When against the Order, he hit Taurus with so much force that he made Taurus real. And this is impressive because Sakamoto, before his most recent training arc with Taurus himself, wasn't able to scratch him at all within 5 of their battles. Nagumo hasn't really done anything since, and as of now is taking a complete backseat while the rest of the cast catches up to him in power by going through their own separate training arcs and getting ready to take on Uzuki's group in the Order. But I think the fact that Nagumo is the only one who isn't training in this arc speaks volumes of where he's at in terms of strength. When comparing Nagumo to the cast, he low dips everybody in Sakamoto's store except for maybe Shin, Heisuke, and Sakamoto, and even then he takes those battles with mid difficulty max. However, I personally think that after the training Sakamoto has received in the recent chapters, they're more than likely equal again, but that's just a guess. I do believe Kindaka would also give Nagumo an extremely difficult time, to a point where the battle can go either way. Against all members of Uzuki's group, he crushes all of them except for Uzuki himself when possessed by the Takamura personality. When against all members of the Order, he beats all of them with high to extreme difficulty except Takamura, who he certainly loses to with low diff. If I had to say, Nagumo is certainly in the top 5 of the series bare minimum, and I would even push him to top 3. With that said, if you enjoyed the video, thank you so much for watching and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.